Why is Christianity declining in the West? One of the most noticeable developments of the latest century is the decline of Christianity in many Western societies. Church attendance, for example, has dropped across Europe and North America. In countries that were once deeply shaped by Christian belief, like England, France, Germany, large portions of the population now identify as secular. Even in nations like the United States, where Christianity historically held such a strong cultural presence, surveys show a steady rise in people who identify as having not religious any sort of religious affiliation. And to me, this makes me wonder, why is Christianity declining in the West? Why is this happening? Like, what's causing it? And perhaps more importantly, what does this decline actually mean? What will happen as a result of this decline? For many centuries, Christianity in the West has was not only a personal faith, it was also a cultural identity. And what I mean by this is that people attended church because it was expected, right? Religious language shaped public life, even how people thought about each other and of themselves. And Christian moral assumptions influenced laws, education, social norms, so how people behaved. But in many cases, this cultural Christianity was not always accompanied by a deep personal belief. As Western societies became more secular and individualistic, many people began abandoning religious practices that they had inherited socially, but had never really personally embraced or fully understood. And what I'm trying to say is that what we are witnessing may not only be a loss of genuine faith, but also the disappearance of nominal Christianity. What I mean is that, like, religion that existed more as tradition than conviction. And that takes me to my second point, which is prosperity can reduce spiritual urgency. Historically, periods of comfort and prosperity have often led societies to feel less dependent on God. When basic needs are met, when economies are stable, and when technology appears to solve many of our practical problems, people may begin to feel that religion is maybe just a little bit unnecessary. And this pattern appears even in the Bible. Let me explain to you, because I don't want you to think that I'm going against Christianity. In Deuteronomy, Moses warns the people of Israel, "Be careful that you do not forget the Lord your God. Otherwise, when you eat and are satisfied, then your heart will become proud and you will forget the Lord your God." So Moses knew this could happen, right? Material comfort can create the illusion of self sufficiency. And when life appears stable, spiritual questions just kind of feel less urgent. And I can understand that. I mean, I've been through it. I think maybe all of us have experienced it. But the modern era has also introduced intellectual challenges to traditional religious beliefs. During the Enlightenment of the 17th and 18th centuries, thinkers began emphasizing reason, skepticism, and empirical science as the primary ways of understanding reality rather than the Bible or what Christianity or the church said. Later, philosophers such as David Hume questioned the reliability of miracles, while Karl Marx described religion as the opium of the people, suggesting that our faith was merely a psychological response to social conditions. Then, in the 19th century, Charles Darwin's theory of evolution led some to believe that natural processes could explain life without referencing to a creator, a god, a superior source of power. And these ideas contributed to an intellectual climate in which religious belief was increasingly challenged. Yet, it is important to recognize that many philosophers and scientists continue to defend the belief in God, and the relationship between faith and reason remains an ongoing discussion, let's say. But this takes me to my third point that Christianity is growing elsewhere. While Christianity has declined in many parts of the West, globally the picture looks quite different. Christianity is growing rapidly in regions such as Africa, Latin America, and parts of Asia. In the early 20th century, most Christians lived in Europe and North America. But we see how things are changing, and today, a majority of Christians live in the global south. I'm from South America, by the way. This shift suggests that Christianity itself is not disappearing. Rather, I believe that the center of the Christian world is just moving geographically. Now, the reasons that I gave you are my attempt to understand the why. Now, the decline of Christianity in the West reflects, I believe, a combination of cultural, intellectual, social changes, but cultural Christianity is fading in the West. But prosperity can create spiritual like self-sufficiency, and I believe that other modern intellectual movements are kind of trying to replace traditional Christianity, but the deeper questions of life are still unanswered by science or these other philosophies.